Leon's taken issue with the question. I think my first point is this is a hustings, which is an opportunity for women to have a conversation about issues which are specifically affecting women, and I think the violence against women and girls is a specific issue which does disproportionately affect women, which is a growing problem. And I actually think the question was spot on right, and I think the key part for me was about zero tolerance. So how do we get to a point where we have zero tolerance? Because right now it feels like the reason that we have escalation is because there is not a zero tolerance attitude, sort of nipping it in the bud in the first place. The biggest rise, one of the real statistics that shocked me was the biggest rise in abusive relationships is amongst teenagers. So we know that teenage girls are getting into relationships and not knowing how to handle it. And to be fair to Leon, I think I think you didn't quite mean the way that it came out in terms of people standing up for themselves. But I think having that sort of feeds into the problem. You know, we need to not be loose with the way we use language on this. There's never an excuse for victim blaming, and I know that's not what you were doing, but even just being a little bit kind of lazy with your language just feeds into an attitude where victim blaming can occur. And the problem is, for me, there are a lot of good people, both men and women, who are lazy with their language and who allow certain things to slip by, and that's what allows people who are not so nice to take things that few steps further. I'm sure all of you will have seen the Everyday Sexism project and the work that they were doing. That to me, that was a massive eye-opener even to me. It started a conversation in my office where there were 3 of us women, 1 man, and we had a conversation about the Everyday Sexism project, and we were talking about the way that, for people who don't know, the Everyday Sexism project is an online blog which where people share their experiences of everyday sexism, and it ranges from things like I was sat on a bus and some guy put his hand on my leg to I was pushed in an alleyway and raped. And the fact for me is that this is all on a continuum, this is all on a spectrum, and when it's okay, when nobody on the bus stands up for you, when some guy sits next to you and puts his hand on your leg, then there is a continuum which leads to it being okay for somebody who's at the extreme end to do things that are much worse to people. And so I think we all need to realise that there is a zero tolerance attitude. And this conversation in my office about the Everyday Sexism project, we had a conversation, and the 3 of us women, the one man said, yeah, but it doesn't really happen though, does it? You know, not everybody. We were like, oh yeah. You know, we all 3 of us had numerous examples in the past month when things had happened which are sort of on that lower level spectrum. I'd had one just literally 2 days before we had this conversation where I got off a bus and a guy stepped in my way and insisted on walking alongside me the whole way home. And actually it wasn't, you know, he wasn't threatening, he wasn't violent to me, but he walked alongside me in an intimidating way the whole way home, and he just kept saying, oh, I just want to talk to you, I just want to talk to you, hey, why won't you talk to me? Not acceptable. We got back to my flat and he put his foot in my door, and that's the point at which I got my phone out and said, I'm calling the police now. But it shouldn't get to that point, you know, and we realised, and actually all of us had these examples of something which I'd not even mentioned it at work, because it's one of these things that just sort of happens, and for too long we put up with it. And so that's why I think zero tolerance is the attitude. We've got to say none of that is acceptable. It's never acceptable to make jokes about rape in the pub with your friends. It's never acceptable for good guys to say things, and it's not acceptable for us in a sort of slightly naive way to say, do you know what, we've got to stand up for ourselves more. Actually, there is a big problem with violence against women and girls. I think one of the things in terms of what we want to do, so the Labour Party is already committed to say we want compulsory sex and relationship education in schools. That's an absolute must. We've been working on various projects. So in the town where I live in Hucknall, there's a really good project where there's a domestic violence worker from Women's Aid Integrated Services who is located full-time in the police station and who is always there. She's working proactively with people who are at risk of domestic violence, and she's also working reactively with women as well. So I think that sort of project can be absolutely fantastic. Gary, I just wanted to pick you up on, you said violent crime is going down, but in terms of reported rapes, that's actually up and up massively. Right. But what's worse than that is prosecutions resulting from those is down by 1/3. So even as the number of rapes being reported is going up, the number of prosecutions is going down, and that tells me that women are not accessing the justice they need. And part of that's to do with the cost of legal aid. which has been withdrawn. There's less access, and I just think we need to be we need to absolutely be looking at this as an endemic problem in society that needs tackling, and that we are not going to tackle until we move forward. Sorry, go on.
Thank you. So